Hello, everyone. This is Jimmy Cultist back again with another exploration game video. And today we're going to be talking about the principle of creating an actual literal point and click, as in you point somewhere and you click to go there. It's actually not as hard as it may sound. But for this, we're going to need a big oblong piece of material. I suppose the size may vary depending on what you're trying to do. I'm going to try a doorway, like something about that big, the size of this doorway in the corner. Maybe a little larger than it, so that there's some wiggle room. But to explain, what exactly are we doing? There's this thing where imps can interact with objects. The imp is this little green thing here, if you're not familiar. I feel like if you're watching these videos, you at least know what that is. But if you set this to grab, the imp can actually collide with this surface. Technically, he'll collide if you just have it set to collide, but, let's give this a little bit of a try so that we can demonstrate how this works. I'm going to put a chip on here. And a camera. We're going to set it to cut, I suppose. Don't hide imp, actually. Leave the imp on. And this is follow imp, which basically means the camera will shift with the imp's movement. We'll leave it at about 90%. That ought to be okay. We'll make this an imp, of course. And we're going to make this invisible. I'm not sure if making it non-collidable will be a problem. Let's see. Also, we'll want this fellow to not be possessable for the time being. I'm not sure if we're able to interact with this block because it is non-collidable, so let's go ahead and make it grabbable. That way we can tell, because if we're able to grab it, alright, right now we're grabbing it. So we are interacting with this piece of material as wanted. But basically, if you were making a point-and-click game, you could easily set up some kind of system just by using this imp camera feature. Could make a pretty cool VR game, I imagine. I'm not really into the VR scene myself, so I won't be making any tutorials on the subject. I just never have had anything to do with it. Frankly, the concept, I just find it boring. Analog is good enough for me. But anyway, let's get down to business. We're going to be able to, well, what I want, anyway, is the ability to travel to multiple areas. So we're going to need to set up an interface of some sort. Turn down the opacity on the text, turn down the background, and this square thingamajigger is going to kind of operate as a, what do you call it, cursor? It's like an indicator of where you can and cannot interact with. Like if you want to enter a door, it will be available. We're going to go ahead and copy it so that we can create a little icon. By the way, you could set up a point and click using purely the controller and not using the imp, if that's something you want. By the way, we did this improperly. It's UI imp, I believe. Yes, there we go. We're going to turn off the border, and we're going to turn up the opacity of our imp fellow. And I don't know if we have an arrow pointing up. This'll just have to do because I forgot the normal input for making an arrow. But basically that's our indicator for when you're hovered over something that you can click on it. And we're going to put a grab sensor, which basically just detects it. This will detect when it hovers. So basically, if you just put your imp over there, the thing will be like, do you want it to go there? As a matter of fact, it might actually make more sense if we just put something like... See, this kind of makes a little bit more sense. Yes. And you could just put these all around the room. You could even put them on objects if you wanted to zoom into an object. I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate this, of course. Grabbed. Maybe we'll want to use R2. Instead of X. Then again, actually we could use X, it's just we'd have to copy out a controller. I like the idea of X because it's a little bit less... I feel like you do it less by accident because your fingers are kind of up there, if you know what I mean. Like they're usually around the R2 button, so you don't want to be clicking it by accident. Let's make it X. Basically all we're going to do is set it to wireless, and then take this hovered power, stick it in there. And that'll more or less guarantee, you know, that you get what you want. We're also going to take a microchip just for safety's sake, in case we want to shut this off later for some reason, which I kind of get the feeling we will. And we're going to go ahead and stick this in the B output. And all this is going to do is turn off our camera, but I want to test it for testing's sake, shall we say. And we just shut off our camera, which is why we're able to freely move. So, what we're actually going to want to go for is a system where when we click on this, we move into the next room, you know, and basically start a new system up or whatever. Technically, we probably would want this also to be... what is the word? We would want to have the ability to go back, but I'm going to think about that later because for now, you know, we're dealing with a different situation. You'd probably have to have, if you were going to make a game like this, you'd have to have sort of a sequence of events as far as, you know, you'd have to start out with one of them being the first one. Let's get a little timeline. We'll call this the transition timeline. Or you could call it transfer. Depends on what you want to do. As a matter of fact, if we have a handy... Do we have... Let me check real quick. There is an imp detecting zone. That might come in handy. Now, how would that come in handy? Well, I'll explain. Basically, we'll want a system where when we leave, or when we enter, I should say, when we enter this space, it'll automatically trigger the camera on, which is what we want. And we're gonna want a camera, we're gonna set it to disable these two things, because it's just better that way. It may cause a little bit of wooziness. Let's go ahead and turn down our imp interaction with these cameras. I feel like they're a little bit... Because of that, we're having some weird sway that's not very necessary. We're also maybe going to want a microchip just to make this stuff more consolidated. Put out a node, stick it in the power there. Take out a NOT gate, connect to the power. The age-old method of stopping input once it's been pressed. So once we press X, we won't be able to interact with this thing anymore. For as long as this switch is active. We're also going to want a little switch at the end here, which is basically going to activate our next whatever this is. And we'll probably want to set this camera to smooth, that way it'll kind of transition instead of cutting abruptly. Well, we've got the idea going. I think there is a little bit of an issue where the cameras appear to be misaligned. I'm pretty sure I know why this is. It's because we transferred it to the microchip. Always be careful. When you're moving things to the microchip, it can sometimes, you know, result in problems. We're going to go ahead and set this back to the other settings that I had previously active. Get rid of follow imp behavior. Stretch this out. Set it to smooth. Transition time. I think our transition time was really good. That we definitely had down, which is 5. Let's see how this works. Oh, we're gonna have to reverse the scene. Oh, that's weird. What's going on with this? You could add in footsteps and whatever else you wanted. And I think we could make multiple of these, like if we wanted it to transition to somewhere other than this, you know, that could be doable. Let's try this again. I just want to test it with the concept of... And for now we're going to turn off the power to this because we don't want it interrupting our interaction. Basically, I just want to test the ability to, you know, look around the room and interact with other things. Presumably, you could tap on this again if you wanted to go through this door. Let's use grid snap just so we don't get anything wrong. And I guess we could use this as a stand-in for something in the drawer. And if we have this on smooth, you might even be able to do something where when you press X, you just automatically go over here. And we could have it so that it turns off the grab sensor so that you're over here, but you're not like able to interact with it. Just stick a NOT gate in the power. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. See how that would work. Alright. Little jittery. Not sure if we have some kind of problem with our PlayStation or what that's about, but let's try a more smooth time, maybe. Smooth jazz, I guess. Alright, let's restart the scene. I think what we've got wrong is there's like a brief window, which I think I can fix this. But it's because our imp interaction is so high. We're going to want it low when we're in the transition period. We'll just set smooth or slow power down to 2.5. And this might alleviate this weird jitter problem we're getting. Go all the way back here. Yeah, that really helps with the jitter. Just whenever you're trying to create a transition, just keep that little thing in mind. And now that we've got this new setup, I think I might just as well kind of alter how we did things. We will need some kind of method that resets everything, so maybe what we could do is take a zone. We'll have it so that when the camera is not active, the zone automatically switches it off. We'll go for this. This will probably work. That way everything is neat and tidy, you know, all cleared up once we're through. And we're maybe going to create some sort of base camera position. For now, let's just move this over. I'm going to copy it, but this is going to act as our base camera area, and once it's switched off, it's going to stay off forever. It's basically, you know, if you want to have an initial position from which to point and click and move around the room. We're going to get rid of all these. We're also going to make this thing a different color from all the others so that we can tell it apart. And we're going to remove the imp interaction entirely, which all I got to do is press this. It means it'll ignore the imp. And when we click on something, it'll reset the camera position. I'm not sure how well this is going to work, but we'll give it a try. What I'm hoping for is that we can create a system where if a camera isn't active, it'll automatically shut itself down. But we'll see. Yeah, how'd we end up all the way over here? Well, we're loose, but we could still test out the system. Is this working all right? Seems to be. Anyway. So we're going to have to figure out something a little bit more robust. I think what I'll do is maybe we could have... We'll have just this and see how this works. We'll set it to imp. Maybe that will work. So that when we go outside of this zone, it'll automatically shut it off. And we're going to have a camera just set to cut. It will lead us into the scene, so to speak. That seems to be working. Oh, we cut ourselves out. We left the zone. Let's try camera again, see how that works. Yeah, we cut ourselves out again with that. We're going to have to figure out a more robust system, so I think I might just do... reset. Tag, set to in scene. And if we click on this, it should reset it. We might also want to get rid of the not gate, since it's now entirely based off whether we click something. Okay, this seems to be working as intended. By the way, the pig is actually something you could modify. You could make him follow along with your transitions if you wanted. It might be a little bit tricky, but if you planned it out properly, it probably wouldn't be a huge deal. I'm going to go ahead and look behind us. I don't know if we have enough imp waiver to do that. Let's turn it up a little bit. So we can go a full 180. Might not want this in all situations. I just want to test to see if we can transition back. Alright, we can transition back to where we were. So this would be viable. I must admit, turning around is a little bit awkward with the gyro controls. But that's a method that you could create a point and click using imps. However, I might demonstrate how you could do it another way, using a different method. Also, I kind of prefer this method. I'm not against the imps particularly, but they can be a little clunky, shall we say. Basically, though, we're going to want some arrows. Actually, let's do it this way. UI up. Oh, that's not the right thing. I think it's just up. No UI needed. Yes, I was correct. But this method is probably a little bit more robust and probably preferable, to be honest. Let's take it off of sticker, though. We will put it on rotatable. Just put it to rotate. And we might put a little arrow indicating that this is a travel direction. And we won't be needing some of these things. We will be needing the camera. And we're going to be turning off... hiding the imp, that is. Don't turn off controller sensor. Do turn off the follow imp. Then we're going to put this here. Little arrow. It's going to be kind of confusing. And we're going to want to put left. Now let's get our camera set in position. Something's not right. Oh, the power is off. That's probably not a good idea for this sort of thing. We're also going to change the color of our brick so we don't get it confused with our own old point-and-click interface. So, let's try this out. Turn on the power. Yes, you see, here's another method that you could do it. You could have it analog all the way. My personal... You know, if it was my call, it would probably be analog. I just don't like modern interfaces like touch and interactive stuff. It just feels really wonky and not quite perfected. That's just me, though. I have used it a few times in some of my games, but generally don't like it. Which may sound, I don't know, harsh. I don't know how to describe it. But we're going to set our little thing up here. This might be slightly easier than the other way we were doing it. Put a camera here. Actually, we may not even need a camera transition now that I think about it. It's possible we could just directly hook this thing up. Okay, so right would take us over there. Let's just hook it directly into this thing. We are going to switch it to the B output though, so it won't be instantly active. And of course it is working. It's a little bit abrupt though, and we also might want to pull out the camera because we're a little bit too close to that door. We're going to just turn it off of cut and set it to smooth. Probably 5.0 is a good transition time. Also going to do the same here, although I'm not sure what the results of this might be. Let's reverse the scene. So if we just press the right arrow on the D-pad, it'll move us over here. Might be a little bit of a long transition. I think perhaps we could do with something more like 2. I don't want to bore people to death. And of course the pig probably wouldn't want to be in the middle of the room where he'll mess with the camera. And we're going to pull these back a bit. And we're going to copy one for the purposes of, well, I think you can guess. Just a sec. We're gonna have right. And we're gonna want an arrow, of course, indicating the direction. I don't know if that's even necessary, that's just something I'd like to do visually. You could potentially just, you know, not do that. But basically we're gonna create a new output for right. And what we're going to be doing this time is just sticking it in the A output again. Alright, let's give this a try. Zoom, right there. Alright, now we're going to press right and we're going to go back. Well, presumably we would go back. Is this set properly? Not disable controller sensor input. Also, let's turn down the transition to 2. Alright, let's see what we did wrong here. Okay, this is right. Might do this, just to doubly be sure. Alright, move over. Press right. And right is not working for some reason. Oh, I think I know why. It's because even though we're triggering the old one, we want to be able to shut this thing off. So, a simple method, we're just going to go ahead and create a reset system. Where all these things run into one, they run into one single red node, which goes into the B output, thus shutting off this first one. And we're going to do the same over here. And you might not need many inputs depending on what kind of thing, you know, you're making. We got 3 over here, so we'll just stick it in A, basically the opposite of whatever input the camera is in. And the only one that's going to need to be A is this very first one, because you want a starting point. Alright, let's try this out. Oh, I think I know what it is. We're having an input delay is the problem, because we're pressing the button and then it's getting stuck, because essentially we're pressing the button over here too. So how would we go about stopping this? Well, probably a simple answer would be to just have this thing. Oops, made a mistake there. Have a little timeline, and basically all it does is temporarily shut off Mr. Reset here. Actually, you might just want to shut off all of these things. We're going to press the power off on here. And the reason why you want to do that is because you don't want to prematurely go into a new area either. So let's try this out and see how this works. Right arrow? Well, that seems to be working good. And then we can go back. And you could make it so that you can interact with the imp still, even with this analog system. I'll just show you how to do that real quick. Turn off hide imp, turn on follow imp, and there you go. We can still use the imp, like if we wanted to grab that letter or open this door and have an interactable minigame of any sort. It can still be done, and we can still transition. I kind of like this way much better, actually. This combination of the imp and the analog system is pretty robust. We may try that out someday. It does seem like the imp is interacting with our block here, which is not what we want. Gotta set it to ignore. There, now he's not colliding with it. But there you go, that's like actual point-and-click movement with camera movements. And technically you wouldn't even need the character to be visible through most of the scenes. Like if you wanted a cutscene or something, you could just zip him in there when necessary. And the rest of the time he wouldn't be visible. It would probably save on thermo and other things, physics and collidability and all that stuff. Honestly, I've never really made a game in this scenario, like this kind of, old school point and click approach, but it might be interesting to try that sometime. Feel free to use the system. Hopefully you found that helpful. Now we're going to give a shout out to our monthly supporters on Ko-fi. There they go. And that's all for now. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss another video. If you wish to support our earnest insanity, you can check the links in the description to donate or buy merch. Until next time, goodbye.